Today, we're diving into the mind of one of the most puzzling characters in all of literature. This is the story of a man put on trial not really for what he did, but for who he was. And believe it or not, his entire fate was pretty much sealed with the very first words he speaks.
Just let that sink in for a second. That's how our story begins. Not with any kind of shock or grief, but with this flat, detached confusion. Right from the get-go, this is Exhibit A in a case that's going to make us question everything we think we know about how people are supposed to feel. So, who is this guy? That's the big mystery we're unpacking. His name is Meursault, and he is a true outsider. He seems to live by his own set of rules, or maybe no rules at all. We're going to follow the evidence, piece by piece, to figure out how this man's journey took him from a funeral to a firing squad. Okay. So our investigation starts at his mother's funeral. Now, this is supposed to be a place of deep, important social ritual, right? But for Meursault, it's just another event, and his actions here are going to become the cornerstone of the prosecution's case against him. When he gets to the nursing home, he's asked if he wants to see his mother one last time. He says no. The director even kind of prods him, suggesting maybe he should feel a little guilty. But Meursault just explains the facts. He couldn't afford to keep her, and she was happier there anyway. For him, there's nothing to apologize for. It just is what it is. And during the vigil, it's like a checklist of things you're not supposed to do. Instead of mourning, he accepts coffee and a cigarette. He doesn't feel sad, just tired. He watches his mother's friends crying, and to him, it's like he's watching a movie. He's just an observer, not a participant in the grief. It's unsettling. The next day, you ask him what he remembers about the funeral, and it's not his mother. It's the physical stuff. The blinding sun, the sticky melting tar on the road, the sweat on his face. Any emotion he might have is just completely buried under the sheer force of the physical world. And here's the absolute kicker. His mother's death changes nothing for him. So let's just break down the next 48 hours. Because this sequence of events is what society is later going to look back on as totally monstrous. I mean, just look at this timeline. The day after burying his mother, he goes for a swim, he runs into Marie, a woman he used to work with, they flirt, they hang out, and then they go see a comedy that night. A comedy. There's no pause button for him, no period of mourning. Life just keeps going. Marie sees he's wearing a black tie and asks him about it. He just says flat out, "Mother died yesterday." She's obviously a bit shocked. But what's really strange is that Meursault feels this little urge to tell her, "It wasn't my fault." It's this weird reflexive thing he does, as if he knows he's breaking some kind of rule, but he doesn't quite get what the rule is. Then Sunday comes, and what does he do? He sits on his balcony and he just watches people walk by. He's not thinking, he's not reflecting, he's just observing. His mother is in the ground. He's just started this new romance. But inside his head, yep, nothing had changed. And this detachment, it bleeds into all of his relationships. And it's these super casual, almost careless connections that are about to drag him straight into the violent heart of our story. I mean, just look at his neighbors. You've got this one old guy, Salamano, who abuses his dog constantly. But then he's a sobbing mess when the dog runs away. And then there's Raymond, a guy everyone knows is a pimp, who asks Meursault to help him get revenge on his girlfriend. And Meursault's response? Sure, why not? Not because he's a bad guy, but just because he doesn't see any reason not to. This is where you really see his indifference in action. Raymond calls him a pal, and Meursault's fine with it. Marie asks if he wants to get married, and he says sure if she wants to. But when she asks if he loves her, he says the word love doesn't mean anything. He walks into life's biggest commitments with, basically, a shrug. So you've got all these different threads, right? Raymond's violent drama, Meursault's passivity, and this relentless, oppressive son. And all of it is about to collide on a beach. This is the moment where everything changes. So Raymond's past finally catches up with them. They run into his mistress's brother on the beach. A fight starts, Raymond gets cut with a knife, and the other guys back off. You'd think, okay, it's over. Crisis averted. But it's not over. Meursault, feeling that sun just beating down on his head, decides to walk back down the beach by himself. He has Raymond's gun, not because he's looking for a fight, but just to get it out of the way. All he wants is to get to a cool spring behind a big rock. It's the heat that's pushing him forward. And this is absolutely crucial.
The sun here isn't just part of the scenery. It's practically a character. It's the villain of the story. It's not just hot. It's this heavy physical force that's pressing down on Meursault, clouding his judgment. He gets to the spring, and sure enough, one of the Arab men is there. The man shows his knife. But it's not the knife that triggers what happens next. It's the sun glinting off the steel, sending this blinding flash of light right into Meursault's eyes. He describes it as a searing blade. And then, a single shot shatters the calm. There's a pause. The man is motionless on the sand. But then, Meursault, for reasons he can't even explain, fires 4 more times into the lifeless body. That's it. His fate is sealed. So now we jump to the trial. And it becomes obvious really fast that Meursault isn't being judged for the murder he committed. He's being judged for the man he is. Get this, the prosecutor barely even talks about the shooting. Instead, he paints this picture of a soulless monster by bringing up everything else we've talked about. Not crying at the funeral, the date with Maria, befriending a pimp, and of course, his only excuse for the killing being because of the sun. They actually argue he is morally guilty of killing his mother and is therefore a threat to all of society. And here it is. Meursault gets a chance to save himself. His lawyer begs him, just play the game, say you were hiding your grief. But Meursault refuses. He will not lie. He will not perform an emotion he did not feel, even if it's going to cost him his life. And this refusal gets us to the core philosophy of the whole book, the absurd. The idea is that we humans are constantly searching for meaning and answers, but we live in a universe that is totally silent and indifferent. It doesn't care. Meursault becomes this kind of absurd hero because he refuses to pretend. He just lives truthfully in a world that offers no meaning. In the end, facing his own execution, Meursault finally accepts this indifference of the world. He feels this weird connection to the silent universe, and for the very first time, he says that he's happy, which leaves us with this final haunting question. Can you be a total stranger to society's rules and still manage to find your own kind of happiness?